Hi and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today we're going to play with embossing paste and stencils. I've used black embossing paste to create this card, and you'll see here on the background of my card these black dots have been created with a stencil as well as some black embossing paste. Now I'm going to tilt this a little bit so hopefully you can catch just a little bit of the shimmer and shine on the background here. Let me hold this up. I know it's going to make things blurry, but now you can see that glittery effect even more. So it's a very subtle effect, but simply sprinkling on a little bit of glitter can add a new look to your embossing paste. So it's a super easy technique to do. I'm going to bring in my supplies and show you what I've done. First, I'm starting with a piece of white cardstock, and this is a pretty heavyweight white cardstock. It's actually paper for painting with acrylics. So something similar to that, or a nice heavyweight cardstock, is usually what I like to use with the embossing paste, just because it adds a little bit more stability to the card. Now the stencil that I'm working with, you can see that I use this stencil quite a lot. This is the tiny circle stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and as you can see, it's one of my favorites. And I promise I do clean my stencils, but it looks like this one is really in need of a bath. I'm going to go ahead and tack down my stencil using some washi tape. Normally I would suggest you use masking tape, but I'm out of masking tape at the moment, so I'm going to substitute some of my beloved washi tape, and you can see I'm actually being quite stingy with it. You do want to tack down your stencil for this technique, just because with the embossing paste and with this tiny, the fine design on here, it can tend to seep under pretty quickly if you don't have it tacked down, at least on 4 sides. So the embossing paste that I'm working with is the Wendy Vecchi Studio 490 embossing paste, and this is in black. This is from Dreamweaver Stencils. You can see by my black fingerprints on here that I use this quite a lot as well. And I'm going to apply it with a palette knife. Now, if you have something similar, this will also do the trick. I like using a palette knife because it just makes it so much easier to apply. This is the embossing paste on here. So if you've not worked with it before, you may be wondering about the kind of consistency of it. Think of it sort of like a shaving cream. So you can see as I've got it on my palette knife, it's not sliding off, it's not dripping. I'm holding it upside down, it's not glopping off either. So it's nice and thick and foamy. And using my palette knife, I'm going to simply come across here and spread on the black embossing paste. And this is where I kind of want to walk around and hold down the edges of my stencil too, since I was so stingy with my washi tape. Just so that I don't accidentally lift it and get some of this embossing paste under here. Then I'm just going to be spreading this on here, add a little bit more, tack it down on this side. It's really thick and it's really dark, and it's going to give a really, really nice effect when it gets all on here. So don't feel like you have to apply it really sparingly, because once you've got it all over your stencil, and you make sure that you've covered as much of the design as you want, then again, take that palette knife and just scrape off any excess from the plastic areas of your stencil. You can see I've got quite a bit on here. Just pop it back into your jar. Now this is why I like to sprinkle on the glitter after I add my embossing paste, rather than mixing the embossing paste with the glitter. This way I can just scoop it back into the jar and I don't waste anything. So I'm going to scrape the rest of this off, pop this into the jar, and then put the lid on that and set it aside. Now I can go ahead and remove my washi tape, and I want to do this, pretty quickly after I apply my embossing paste. And I do then want to rinse my stencil pretty thoroughly so that I can make sure to clean that all off. So I'm going to pull this off and then lift off my stencil, and you can see my design. So really easy to do, and it looks great already. So I'm going to set aside my stencil. Now that I have this still wet, I'm going to bring in my clear, fine glitter. And I have this in a little Tupperware container. I think my mother and I split a jar of glitter one time, so I can't tell you the manufacturer of this, but it is a very fine clear glitter, and I'm sure you can find something like this at your local craft store. My applicator is a homemade one. This is a circle punched piece of paper, and I just folded it in half so it's my little scooper. And I wish I could say I came up with this idea, but it was something I picked up at a stamping convention. I thought it was brilliant. So now I've got my little scooper, and I'm just going to sprinkle this on here while the embossing paste is still wet. And like when you do heat embossing, once this is dry, you can lift this off and kind of tap off any excess. So use a light touch, but don't worry about trying to get it into too many spots on here, because then you can always put another piece of cardstock underneath and then kind of funnel the rest back into your little container of choice. So this is how simple it is to add a really pretty shimmery, shiny effect to your black embossing powder. So, or to your black embossing paste. So I'm going to, once again, bring back in my original card, set this one aside, and so we can talk a little bit more about the design of this. I trimmed down my, my embossed background paper, and you'll notice even though I'm touching this, the glitter is not coming off on my hands, which is something I really appreciate. Once you shake off all of the excess glitter, it will be firmly into your embossing paste, so that's really nice. You won't end up with too much excess glitter kind of floating around on you. So once I've matted this onto my yellow paper cardstock and then put it down onto my black card base, I also thought it would be fun to use the same background layout as some of the other projects in the embossing paste series, and show you the versatility, because I really like this layout for stenciled backgrounds. It lets the stencil background really shine and be the star of the card. You really don't need to add a whole lot else with a background like this, because it really does make kind of a dramatic statement in and of itself. So I simply tied a knot in a piece of this fun red tulle ribbon and attached that with Aleene's tacky craft glue. And then I added this little stamped sentiment on here, and wanted to show you this. This is just a black scallop circle, and I punched that from black cardstock using a 2.5 inch scallop punch. So that gave me this piece. And then the white piece is another circle punch, and this is a 1 3/4 inch big guy here. So then I can just simply layer the two of them together. Now the stamped sentiment on here, which I think is really fun, this is from a stamp set from Paper Artsy. So this is also what I'm using throughout the embossing paste series too, because I wanted to show you the versatility of not only the layout, the card layout, but then also the stamp set as well. So I just added a little red brad in here and then put that down with foam tape, kind of tucked it underneath that tulle ribbon on here. And I think the overall effect is really bright and fun and cheerful. And I love how the yellow just sets everything off with that, with the glitter in there, and then the red just being a little bit of an accent piece of color. So this is how to use embossing paste with a stencil and add a touch of shine with a little bit of glitter. I really hope you enjoyed the segment today. For more ideas and inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.